So, if you're one of those people like me who are watching the polls closely in the run-up to the election, you might have woken up that next day and thought, I don't think they did a very good job on this one.
So this was obviously a tough year for pre-election polls. One thing that was really problematic this year is that there were a lot of forecasters out there projecting the probability that Hillary Clinton would win the election, and they were using a lot of polls, national polls and state level polls. And based on those polls, they were projecting very high probabilities that Clinton would win the election, and that's not what happened. Nationally, the polls weren't too bad. Most of them suggested that Clinton would win the popular vote, and indeed she did by a fairly narrow margin.
And at the same time, some of the key battleground states like Pennsylvania and Ohio went for Donald Trump in much greater margins than was originally predicted.
We have three hypotheses as to why this probably happened. The first is who was in the polls. So this is an idea called non-response bias, which basically says the people who take your survey are different than the people who won't take your survey. And we know from research that we've done in the past that people who have lower education, lower income, people who are less civically engaged, less likely to vote, less likely to contact an elected official, those people are all less likely to take your survey. So if those people aren't in your survey and those people either vote or vote even more than one would expect, like have higher turnout than expected, that can be a problem for your polls.
Another possibility is what some people have been calling the shy Trumper hypothesis, which basically says that voting for Trump is considered socially undesirable by some people. They don't want to admit it either to an interviewer on the phone or to pollsters in general. And then when they get into the voting booth, who they actually vote for is not the same person that they told pollsters they were going to vote for.
There's a third possibility, and this one is a little polling geeky. Sorry in advance. When you take a survey, because of social desirability bias, you end up getting more people telling you that they plan to vote than actually are going to turn out. So in a national election, you might get 50 or 55% of the public turning out, but you might get 70 or 80% of the people on the phone telling you they're going to vote because maybe that day they do plan to vote, and also voting is the right thing to do in a democracy, so they want to tell you that. So pollsters have to do something called modeling a likely electorate. They put what's called a likely voter screen on there, and they say, based on what I know about you, based on what you've told me or answered in any fashion, I'm going to say, do you look like a likely voter? Do you look like someone who's voted in the past and follows politics and is enthusiastic? They'll tick through a number of things. And then they'll say, yes, okay, you, I'm putting in the sample to project the election, and you, I don't think you're really going to vote.
It was a real challenge this year for pollsters to measure the different levels of support groups that were going to turn out for each candidate. For Hillary Clinton, there was this question all year long about whether she could turn out some of those coalition groups that came out for Barack Obama in 2008 and 2012. And for Donald Trump, he drew support from some groups that were traditionally Democratic, particularly in some of those Midwest states that he was able to flip.
So to try to understand what's happened here, APOR has convened an ad hoc task force on the 2016 election polling. And what this is a group of experts from across the survey research industry who are going to look at polling accuracy in 2016, both in the primaries and in the general election, as well as historical polling accuracy in the primaries and in the general election.
And that's the good news. A bunch of really smart people will figure it out. The bad news is we won't be able to tell you what happened until May.
In the meantime, at the Pew Research Center, we are going to be reviewing our data, looking at both our telephone polls and the American Trends Panel, which gives us some unique opportunities to look at how individuals may have changed in what they were saying over time.
George Gallup had an interesting quote. He, of course, is the founder of the Gallup organization, where he said, if democracy is the will of the people, then maybe someone should go out and find out what that will is. And that is the essence of public opinion polling.
So hang in there, answer the phone when people call you. Pollsters need your help.